was a dark and stormy night, and Samantha was all alone in her house. She had just finished watching a scary movie and was feeling a bit jittery. As she made her way up to bed, she heard strange noises coming from the attic. At first, she dismissed it as the wind, but the noises grew louder and more persistent. Samantha tried to ignore the sounds, but her curiosity got the best of her. She climbed up to the attic and began to investigate. As she walked around, she noticed that the attic was filled with old trunks and dusty furniture. It was clear that no one had been up there in years. Suddenly, she heard a loud bang behind her. She turned around to see an old trunk had fallen over on its own. She tried to convince herself that it was just an old trunk that had toppled over, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Samantha was about to head back down to her bedroom when she noticed a strange marking on the floor. It was a symbol she didn't recognize, and it looked as if it had been drawn in blood. Samantha's heart began to race. She quickly turned around to leave the attic, but found that the door was stuck. She tried to remain calm, but the feeling of being watched was too much for her to handle. She quickly made her way back to her bedroom, locked the door, and tried to go to sleep. But just as she was starting to drift off, she heard a scratching sound coming from the other side of the door. She thought it must be her cat, but when she looked over at the window, she saw a pair of glowing eyes staring back at her. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The scratching grew louder, and the eyes moved closer. Samantha knew she had to act fast. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911. When the operator answered, she tried to tell them what was happening, but all that came out was a series of panicked gasps. Suddenly, the scratching stopped, and the eyes disappeared. When the police arrived, they searched the house but found nothing out of the ordinary. But Samantha knew what she had seen, and she never forgot the feeling of being watched by something that she couldn't explain. She decided to do some research on the symbol she saw in the attic. After hours of digging, Samantha discovered that the symbol was an ancient rune that was used to ward off evil spirits. She also found out that her house had a dark history. It was once owned by a woman who was accused of being a witch and was burned at the stake. Legend had it that her spirit still haunted the house to this day. Samantha knew that she had to do something to get rid of the ghost. She went to a local bookstore and found a book on exorcisms. She read the book from cover to cover and then set to work performing the ritual. For hours, Samantha chanted the words of the exorcism, and then, suddenly, the ghostly presence disappeared. The house was quiet, and Samantha knew that the evil spirit had been banished. From that day forward, Samantha never went up to the attic again. But she always knew that something was lurking in the shadows, waiting for its chance to return.